18 top Irish and international comedians are going to descend on Killarney next month for the Comedy Central Killarney, and one of those top comedians is with me in studio this morning. Good morning, Karl Spain.
Good morning. Descending on, all jumping out of a plane.
Karl, you have a bit of experience with descending.
I
saw
do,
you
yeah.
descending Mount Kilimanjaro.
I'm better at the descending than the ascending.
Yeah,
yes.
Tell us about that. You were climbing Mount Kilimanjaro
I was.
with a few other celebrities.
I did it quicker than anyone else.
Yeah. It was a big thing. I mean, aiming to climb one of the biggest mountains, the biggest mountain in Africa.
The biggest freestanding mountain on the planet. Yeah,
right.
Above sea. Yeah, it was. But I had been training for it as much as people don't believe me. And what kind of affected me was the altitude.
Altitude sickness is a killer.
And I'm a diabetic and thought I was eating too much of these power bars and they're too full of sugar. And only when I got back to the hotel, having not quite made it to the peak, did I see that there was no sugars in them. So when I was feeling bad, I was thinking I had too much sugar in me, and when in reality I had none. So I couldn't take the altitude tablets because of being a diabetic.
But you enjoyed it? I
had a great time up until a point, and then had a great time once I got back to the hotel. Well, that sounds too bad, doesn't it? No, it was a great experience, but and I'm determined to go back and do it properly. And my friend John keeps comparing me to Martina Navratilova because around the same time she tried it and didn't make it.
Ah, well, there you go.
And my tennis hasn't improved.
Right. So you're doing this Killarney thing next month. This is a first event of its kind.
It's the first time in Killarney. It's funny that all over the country there's been different festivals at different times. So about time Kerry. I think Kerry is one place that's neglected for comedy. I think Jackie Healy-Rae's all cornered off, the whole Healy-Rae's.
Yeah, is it the Kerryman jokes that have put them off doing it?
Maybe it is. Maybe they're anti-comedy. I never thought of it like that, actually.
Yeah, it's where we all start off, isn't it?
Yeah,
to hear about the Kerryman who burnt his ear.
No.
He was doing the ironing when the phone rang. That's the first joke I ever learned.
This is the first joke. I haven't even got a joke in yet. You're embarrassing me.
So, Karl, you've been working, obviously you did the Mount Kilimanjaro thing. What else have you been doing lately?
Oh, I'm totally off the sea. No, I've been doing. I'm just back from holidays. I was up when I say holidays, myself and my girlfriend were on holidays. Well, she was on holidays. I was doing gigs in Edinburgh and in Bath, around the UK. And we kind of filled in the days in between, driving around the beautiful scenery.
The girlfriend. I remember you from a series that Karl Spain wants to find a woman.
That's the girl I met on the first series of that.
Same girl.
Yeah.
How many years ago was that now?
It feels longer, but it's 6.
It's getting serious, though.
It's getting serious, 6.
Yeah. So do you ever have any regrets about doing the series?
Sometimes I have regrets, but then we make up.
All right. Female comedians, Carla, will there be many of those at the Central Comedy?
There probably will be, but you've caught me on the hop there. There should be anyway. If there's
I'm just wondering, is it harder for?
Well, the
female
Newlands
comedians?
are playing. I know the Newlands are playing, and they're back together after a few years.
I mean, it seems to be an industry that's dominated by males.
Well, there is. I think there's more female comics there now, and. What I don't is people talk, and I not when they start talking about it as female comics, just comics. It's just the lifestyle. I don't think appeals to women being, sitting and waiting for a gig. I mean, sometimes when you're starting out, you're going around, you're travelling all over the place at weekends, and you're spending your days hanging out on your own. Make it sound so glamorous. And then you're in a dressing room with 3 men who, whatever, female comic, whatever.
Is it competitive and bitchy as well?
99% of other comics are great. There's always one.
Tell us, who's that? Go on.
I'll tell you off air. But if you name names, I'll just nod yes or no. And if you can see it on the camera later.
Dara Breen, Jason.
Oh, they're all great. Success puts manners on everybody.
All right.
They're all great. But no, but the female comics, some of the best comics out at the moment are female. Like Sarah Millican, who's one of my favourites at the moment, the English comic. She's absolutely fantastic. And it's almost like, she's just a comic. She doesn't, I don't see her as a female comic. There's more out there. And some of my favourite comics are female comics as well.
Do you think the Irish are naturally witty?
We certainly think we are. there is that attitude at times of, sure, why would I go to a comedy show? I'm great crack,
Yeah.
you know.
Or you go into a pub any night and there's, it's almost a competition for the best banter, people knocking one joke against the other. What made you decide, listen, I'm better than the 4 or 5 around me?
Well, it was, I think it was like a vocation almost, that when I started. I started 11 years ago. And I remember even getting paid. Des Bishop was actually the first person to pay me for a gig, gave me 20 quid. And I just done 15 minutes. And I was thinking, 20 quid for 15 minutes? This is ridiculous. But what made me start was kind of the people would say, oh, you should be a comedian. I think I was a frustrated performer. So I'd be in company with people and I'd be telling stories and dominating conversation. But I was funny because I've been in company people who'll dominate conversation. Yeah, and then we went to the shop and then we bought something. Just talk. But I would try to be funny all the time. And once I started doing comedy, that stopped. I didn't feel that need to be the dominant one in the pub. I'd quite happily sit quiet and listen to other people.
Yeah.
And maybe pick things out and use them as material.
Does Limerick offer you lots of material?
Limerick is great, yeah. Limerick is great. My first jokes were about... My very first joke was about... was done up in Dublin, which was... Limerick has a bit of a reputation, but it's just a handful of people. What they do gets on the news and gets on the radio. Don't judge us all by the cranberries. And then the next joke was about Frank McCourt.
Yeah, you had one about 2 dodgy suburbs in Limerick as well.
Well, that was right. Yeah. The two, Limerick is just 2 suburbs. Yeah, just changing it from the Cranberries with 2 dodgy suburbs. You all know the names of them, Clare and Tipperary. Yeah. And definitely the text should be flying in now.
I've never
I'm a Cranberries fan.
Yeah.
From Clare.
What about the recession? Has that affected comedy at all? People need more of a laugh.
It's weird. People. Because when you're stand up, you make money from different things. So like you do corporate gigs, you do bits of advertising, bits of voiceovers, whatever. So it's changed, but it stayed the same in a way. So I'm still as busy, but certain things that were easy money in the past are gone. But
prices come down.
Not really, no. I mean, in some of the clubs, the long established clubs, the money hasn't really changed in like 15 years. Okay. It's like a set fee for a gig.
So it didn't go up hugely.
Yeah, it didn't really go up, no.
Down.
For the clubs, it's a thing, you go through them. You get to a stage where you start out doing a free gig for like 7 minutes, then you do you're the first act, second act, or then you're the headliner or MC. So, the money hasn't changed. Even when it changed over from pounds to euros, it went down slightly. Okay. So it hasn't moved like that.
And what about the material? Has that changed?
It has, yeah. I have a few recession things, but they're longer bits. Like the most recent joke was Jedward in Celebrity Big Brother with a bare knuckle traveller fighter. You're thinking someone's answering my letters. People ask me what should be on television. Jedward. I'd love to be in there going, hey, do you hear what they said about you now? Do you know? Tell
me, what other upcoming projects have you got apart from?
I've been writing something for. I've an idea for a story, and I don't know whether it's going to be a book, a film, or a comedy series or something like that. And I think it's a great idea. And I actually pitched it to people without having written a word. Like producers, one of the guys that worked on the producer of The Guard and different things. And he said, that's a great idea, go away and write it. So, but it's the process of sitting down and actually writing it, because you find yourself in Killarney or...
And are you able to give anything away at this point?
Not really.
No.
Well, there's no
Top
point.
Secret.
Yeah, there's no point
because you're never going to get around to writing.
Yeah. If I start telling people, I'll feel like, oh, that's done now.
or somebody else will pick it up and write it before you do.
Yeah, write a better version of it. I mean, they couldn't possibly write a better version. But no, I think it's a good idea for a story, and I just need to get it out there.
So just give us a few ideas. Who else is on with you in Comedy Central Killarney, September 16th and the 17th? You mentioned the new list.
Mentioned the news. Ardal O'Hanlon is on, PJ Gallagher, Neil Delamere. There's loads on. And Willie White, Charlotte Regan. There's loads of like established like Ardal and PJ, etc. And loads of the newer acts like that. I think it'll be a great weekend.
Carl, what about gigs in Limerick? I remember a time Dolan's used to run huge gigs, huge comedy gigs. We had Dara Breen there, we had Des Bishop
everyone there,
and it was packed out.
You wouldn't believe some of the names. We'd fly to the Concords there.
Great value nights out. They seemed to die away, and then they tried something in the Trinity Rooms for a while, and wasn't on the same scale. What happened to comedy in Limerick?
At one stage there was 3 gigs in Limerick. There was what was Riddler's, there was Baker Place, and there was Dolan's at the same time. Dolan's kind of went monthly. I think it didn't. Limerick didn't have the appetite for really a weekly comedy club.
Those gigs used to be packed
there
out.
Was great, yeah, there was great. But the bigger ones, you see, they'd be kind of once a month. You'd have someone like Dara, and then the other weeks you'd have Dara, Des, whoever. You'd have someone who's now famous, that you know, and
Jason
they'd be great
Byrne,
gigs.
Ed Byrne, those
Everyone played. Like for 3 years, nearly every week. All big acts. People. I remember you watched like what you call McIntyre's Roadshow or one of those things. All those acts.
Yeah, exactly.
Dolan's, and I said Fly to the Conchords, one of their first gigs. I think it was their second gig in Ireland was in Limerick, and like they were on HBO and they're making movies and everything like that. Now, the aptitude wasn't there. The appetite wasn't there. People would kind of start getting, because it was there every week. People would get choosy and go, "Oh, we'll go such a week." And I think there was a change in Irish comedy in the last decade, from where people would go to comedy night not knowing who was on, to once things like The Panel and all kinds of people got TV shows, whether they were looking for a girlfriend or a hidden camera. People just would go to people who'd been on TV. They weren't going to just comedy. They'd say, "Oh no, we want to go see someone we know."
Well, hopefully it'll come back fairly soon.
It'll come back,
they were great days. Karl Spain, best of luck. Central Comedy next month in Killarney, September.
And you see me in the Loft on the 29th with Choke Comedy
in
above the lock. So I will be in Limerick soon.